Welcome aboard, everyone, and get ready for a deep dive into Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's amazing to think that even after all these years, TNG still holds up as this incredible piece of science fiction. But I bet even the most die-hard fans out there haven't heard all the stories from behind the scenes.
Oh, absolutely. We're about to uncover some real gems today, from the origins of the show to the evolution of those iconic characters, and even a few surprising facts that might just change how you see TNG forever.
Okay, so let's set the stage. We're talking about the mid-1980s, 2 decades after the original Star Trek series ended.
Yeah.
Paramount decided it was time to boldly go again. But they didn't just want to rehash the past.
Right. What's fascinating is that they chose to set the next generation a whole century after Kirk and Spock's adventures. It was a way to honor the legacy while creating something entirely new.
And it was a big risk. They went with this first-run syndication model, which meant different stations could air the show whenever they wanted. Not exactly the norm back then.
It was a gamble that paid off big time. Think about it back then. Star Trek wasn't the cultural phenomenon it is today. Syndication allowed it to find its audience organically, building this incredible grassroots following.
But even with that smart strategy, the early days weren't easy. There were so many writers coming and going, trying to navigate Gene Roddenberry's strict vision for this utopian future.
It must have been a tightrope walk. You've got to capture the essence of Star Trek, the optimism, the exploration, but also make it feel fresh and relevant for a new generation.
And let's be honest, they didn't always hit the mark in those first couple of seasons. Some of those early episodes, well, let's just say they had a certain charm.
Charm is a good word for it.
Yep.
But, those growing pains led to something truly special over 7 seasons. TNG found its voice and gave us some of the most thought-provoking, character-driven science fiction ever seen on television.
And those characters, you can't talk about TNG without talking about Picard, Riker, Data, Worf. The whole crew, they became icons, almost like a family we invited into our living rooms every week.
And it wasn't just about the main cast. TNG introduced us to entire species that would become cornerstones of the Star Trek universe. The Borg, the Kardashians, these weren't just one-off villains. They represented complex ideologies and challenged our heroes in ways we'd never seen before.
The Borg especially sent chills down my spine. That collective consciousness, the idea of losing your individuality, it tapped into some primal fear, don't you think?
Absolutely. The Borg represented this relentless force of assimilation, erasing individuality in the name of so-called perfection. It was a chilling commentary on conformity and the dangers of blind obedience.
And they were just one part of a much bigger tapestry.
TNG wasn't afraid to tackle complex themes like artificial intelligence, the nature of consciousness, even the ethics of genetic engineering.
It wasn't just about phasers and warp drive. It was about exploring the human condition through this futuristic lens, and that's what made it resonate so deeply with audiences.
It was like every week they were asking us, what would you do in this situation? What does it mean to be human? How do we navigate the unknown with compassion and understanding? And the answers weren't always simple. There were moral dilemmas, shades of gray characters making tough choices with no easy answers. That's what made it great drama.
Speaking of great drama, can we talk about those uniforms for a second? Those skin-tight spandex numbers from the first 2 seasons. What were they thinking?
Well, from what I've heard, it wasn't just a fashion choice. Apparently, they wanted to convey this sense of a future where humanity had evolved beyond physical limitations, where clothing was more functional than fashionable.
Functional maybe, but comfortable. I don't think so. Thank goodness they switched to those 2-piece wool uniforms later on. I hear those were much easier on the actors' spines.
Imagine spending hours on set in those original uniforms. No wonder they changed them.
But hey, those early uniforms have become a bit of a cult classic, haven't they? You've got to love that retro futuristic look. It's so quintessentially 80s Star Trek.
It definitely has a certain charm, but I think the change in uniforms actually reflected a deeper shift in the show itself. It was like TNG was shedding its skin, becoming more confident, more sophisticated.
I like that. It's like they were evolving right alongside their characters. Speaking of evolution, one thing that really struck me about TNG was how it wasn't afraid to shake things up. They had major character departures, like when Yara was killed off so early on.
That was a bold move. It showed that no one was safe, that this wasn't going to be a predictable, episodic adventure, and it made the stakes feel so much higher.
And then there were those big season-long arcs, like the introduction of the Borg. It was like they were taking cues from serialized storytelling, which is pretty groundbreaking for TV at the time.
And let's not forget the impact of real-world events on the show. Remember the Writers Guild of America strike in 1988?
Wait, that affected TNG.
It sure did. The strike shortened the 2nd season, and they had to scramble to put together a finale. They actually ended up using a clip show, which was pretty unusual for TNG.
Wow. I never knew that. It just goes to show that even a show set in the 24th century can't escape the realities of 20th century Hollywood.
That's right. But, despite those challenges, TNG always managed to find a way to innovate and push the boundaries of what science fiction could be, and that's why we're still talking about it today.
Couldn't agree more, but, I'm realizing we've barely scratched the surface here. We haven't even talked about the amazing guest stars, the incredible music, or the show's lasting legacy.
Oh, there's so much more to explore. We could spend hours dissecting each season, analyzing every character arc, and debating the philosophical implications of every episode.
And wouldn't that be fun? But I think it's time for us to take a little pause.
I come back.
We'll delve even deeper into the world of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Before the break, we were talking about how TNG wasn't afraid to embrace real-world challenges, like that writer's strike that shook up Season 2.
Yeah, it's incredible how they managed to navigate those hurdles and still deliver such compelling stories.
Yeah.
It makes you appreciate the dedication of everyone involved, from the writers to the cast and crew.
Absolutely. And speaking of the crew, let's talk about those incredible sets they worked on. Did you know that some of the sets used on TNG were actually repurposed from the Star Trek movies that featured the original cast?
We really, they literally took those sets from the movies and reused them?
They did, for example, that distinctive courtroom set seen in episodes like The Matter of a Man that was originally built for Star Trek IV. The Voyage Home. It's amazing how they managed to breathe new life into those sets and seamlessly integrate them into the world of TNG.
That's a fantastic example of creative resourcefulness.
Yeah.
Not to mention a cool connection between the two generations of Star Trek. It's like these sets are carrying the legacy of the franchise forward.
Exactly. And it's a testament to the enduring quality of those original designs. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about something else that makes TNG stand out: its commitment to tackling complex social and ethical issues. This show wasn't just about space battles and exploring strange new worlds. It was about using science fiction to hold a mirror up to ourselves and ask some tough questions.
You're right. TNG wasn't afraid to tackle issues like prejudice discrimination. The struggle for equality episodes like The Outcast and The Drumhead come to mind.
Those are great examples, and what's so striking is how those episodes still resonate today, even decades later. The issues they raise: intolerance, fear of the other, the dangers of unchecked authority. Those are themes that are as relevant now as they were back then.
It's almost like TNG was ahead of its time in some ways. They were having these conversations about gender identity, social justice, the ethics of technology before those topics became mainstream.
And they did it with nuance and sensitivity. They weren't preaching or offering easy answers. They were presenting these complex issues and letting the viewers grapple with them, encouraging us to think critically and challenge our own assumptions.
And it wasn't just the heavy stuff. TNG also had a wonderful sense of humor. I mean, who could forget Data's attempts at comedy or Worf's constant struggle to understand human customs?
Those moments of levity were so important. They added depth to the characters and reminded us that even in the midst of serious situations, it's okay to laugh and find joy in the absurdity of life.
Exactly. And those moments of humor made the dramatic moments hit even harder. It's like the show was saying, yes, life is full of challenges and heartbreak, but it's also full of wonder, humor, and connection.
And that brings us back to the heart of TNG. It's characters. It's the relationships between Picard and Data Riker and Troy, Worf, and Geordi. Those connections are what made the show so special.
You said if we watched these characters grow and change over the course of 7 seasons. We saw them struggle, we saw them triumph, and we saw them form bonds that transcended rank, species, and even time itself.
And those bonds extended beyond the screen. The chemistry between the actors was undeniable, and it spilled over into the characters they portrayed. They weren't just colleagues, they were friends and family.
And that sense of family is something that fans connected with deeply. We felt like we were a part of that crew, sharing their adventures and learning from their experiences.
Speaking of learning, let's talk about some of the more thought-provoking episodes of TNG. I'm thinking of episodes like The Inner Light, where Picard lives an entire lifetime on another planet in the span of a single episode.
Oh, that episode was a tearjerker. It explored the themes of lost memory and the fragility of life in such a beautiful and heartbreaking way. It stayed with me long after the credits rolled.
And it's a testament to the power of TNG to tell stories that transcended the boundaries of genre. It wasn't just science fiction, it was about the human condition, the universal experiences that connect us all.
Absolutely, and it wasn't afraid to experiment with different storytelling formats. Think about the episode Darmok, where the crew encounters an alien species that communicates entirely through metaphor and allegory.
That episode was brilliant. It forced the viewer to work to decipher the aliens' language, immersing us in the challenge of intercultural communication. It was a bold and innovative episode, and it showed how TNG wasn't afraid to challenge its audience.
It certainly kept us on our toes.
Yeah.
But one thing I've always wondered is, what happened to all those unused episode ideas you mentioned earlier? That some TNG plots were recycled from Star Trek. Phase 2, the series that never got made? I imagine there's a whole treasure trove of Lost Trek stories out there.
There probably is, and it makes you wonder what kind of stories we missed out on. What other strange new worlds, what other compelling characters, what other thought-provoking dilemmas could have been explored?
It's enough to make a Star Trek fan's head spin. But hey, maybe that's part of the magic of TNG, the idea that there's always more to discover, more to explore, even after all these years.
You're absolutely right. TNG is like this vast and intricate tapestry with threads that connect to other Star Trek series, to our own lives, and to the very nature of humanity itself.
It's a show that continues to inspire, to challenge, and to remind us of the power of imagination and the importance of striving for a better future.
We haven't even touched on its impact on popular culture, its legacy of inspiring scientists, engineers, and artists, or the enduring fandom that keeps the spirit of TNG alive today.
You know what? I think we need another deep dive just to cover all of that. But for now, let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer brilliance of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
I couldn't agree more. It's a show that continues to resonate with audiences of all ages, reminding us that there's always hope, that exploration is essential, and that the human spirit is capable of great things.
And on that note, we'll be right back after a short break to wrap up our deep dive into this beloved and enduring series. Welcome back to our deep dive into Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's been quite a journey, right, from those infamous early uniforms to the complex themes and those unforgettable characters. TNG really pushed the boundaries of what science fiction could be.
It did, and you know what? It continues to inspire and challenge us even today. It's amazing how a show that premiered over 3 decades ago can still feel so relevant.
One thing that really strikes me is the legacy of TNG. It's not just a show. It's become a cultural touchstone. People who have never even seen an episode know about Picard the Borg and that iconic Make It Soar line.
It's true. TNG has permeated our culture in ways that go far beyond the screen. It's inspired scientists, engineers, writers, artists, people from all walks of life. It's given us a vision of a future where humanity has overcome its differences and is working together to explore the universe and solve the galaxy's problems.
And that vision, that optimism, it's something we really need right now, don't you think? In a world that can often feel divided and uncertain, TNG reminds us of the power of hope, cooperation, and the pursuit of knowledge.
Absolutely. It's a show that encourages us to be better, to strive for a future where we embrace diversity, value diplomacy, and never stop exploring. And it does all of that with a sense of wonder and adventure that's simply infectious.
It makes you want to put on a Starfleet uniform and head out to the stars yourself.
It certainly does. But even if we can't physically travel to distant galaxies, TNG allows us to explore those possibilities in our minds. It sparks our imaginations and invites us to consider what kind of future we want to create.
And that, I think, is the true legacy of Star Trek. The Next Generation, it's not just about entertainment. It's about inspiring us to be more curious, more compassionate, and more hopeful about the future.
Beautifully said. TNG reminds us that we have the potential to achieve great things when we work together and embrace our shared humanity.
It's a message that will always be relevant, no matter what the future holds.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I encourage you to keep exploring the world of TNG. Revisit your favorite episodes, discover new stories, and let the spirit of exploration and hope guide you.
Because the journey of Star Trek: The Next Generation, much like the exploration of space itself, never truly ends.
Live long and prosper.
And thanks for joining us on this incredible journey through the world of Star Trek: The Next Generation.